Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show, Saturday, February 27th. Ian Cameron, Connor Mack, ready to break down the college card. Let's get right to it. We've got less than an hour. We got tons of games. Start off with Tennessee and Auburn. We've got Tennessee 7.5-point road favorites, 142.5 the total in this game. Sharif Cooper's status is going to be the big question, of course, going into this game. With no Sharif Cooper, there was no offense for Auburn in their last game in a really poor showing against Florida the other night. We'll see if they can turn it around here against Tennessee. This is a game where obviously you're going to want to know if he's in or out. If he's in, maybe you give Auburn and the over potentially a look. If he's out, it's hard to look up anything but Tennessee, and maybe the game stays under. I certainly wouldn't bet an over without him because Auburn's offense looked pretty much, almost inept, to be honest with you, without him on the floor in the last game. So it's really contingent upon that. I'm not involved in the game as of now. Connor, anything for you with Tennessee, Auburn?
Yeah, one sec. I'll be right back. Anyways, this game real quick. Yeah, I'm right with you. No Cooper, no go. If he's in, I'd like these points because he can keep you in any ball game, and I'd lean towards the over. He's out. That was ugly watching that game the other day. When he wasn't in, they couldn't score in stretches. And this is Florida. Okay defense. So it's all on him. The guy scores over 20 a game. He's there. He makes them go. Remember when they inserted him in earlier in the year? It was a shot in the arm. They were really struggling. So one of the best young freshmen. So it's all up to him. If he's in, I'd like to take the points. If he's out, I would not. I'd stay away from this one.
All right, next up, we've got pretty interesting matchup here with Texas Tech. We've got Texas Tech -4, home favorites here, the total 135.5 in this one. It's a tricky proposition to be laying points with Texas Tech. This has been really a brutal point spread team for the better part of the last month or two. Not a team I'm looking to lay 4 with. And, probably at the open at -3, this is maybe a no bet for me, but the more this line climbs up, I'm becoming more and more interested in Texas here, getting the 4. It wasn't a pretty game for them earlier this week against Kansas, but the fact remains they gutted out the victory in overtime. It hasn't been it's been a team that's kind of struggled, kind of limped to the finish line here of this Big 12 regular season schedule. But you can make equal concerns for Texas Tech laying 4 in this game because they have just been an overvalued commodity for quite a period of time. Not that Texas hasn't been. Texas hasn't exactly been cashing tickets for their backers repeatedly. But for this Texas Tech team, we've seen their defense kind of lapse at times, which is a concern because that's been the hallmark of Chris Beard's successful Red Raider teams over the years, has been their ability to lock them down defensively, opponents, but they haven't been doing that quite as well. Number climbing to 4. I'm definitely getting more interested in pulling the trigger on Texas. Haven't yet, but I'm really leaning in that direction now at +4. What do you think, Connor, with the Battle of Texas here? Longhorns, Red Raiders.
Yeah, sorry. Wrangling a cat around here.
I don't have.
Yeah, I know. It's not really mine, but he's here. Anyways, I'm with you. Now let's hit 4. I like Texas a little bit. Texas Tech has had a hard time covering all year. They've been bad against the spread. I don't want to lay any points with them, really. I'm surprised they're taking money. I get it. They're at home. They really need this win. But I'm going to look towards the over. I'm a little leery. I think the first meeting went over. But Texas has been playing – they've been an over team, an over machine. So I'm going to continue on the over here. I like the over 136.
All right, liking the over in this one. We move on to Michigan, Indiana. Michigan, 7.5-point road favorites, 138.5 the total. Normally I'd buy into maybe a little letdown spot, but I don't know if Indiana is good enough to take advantage of it against this Michigan team. And this Michigan squad, we cashed a ticket with them. I think Conor was on it too. Michigan -5 against Iowa the other night. Just an incredible performance. Look, this team's just terrific. Inside, outside scoring, length, athleticism, defense. They're in the entire package right now, Michigan. I think it's safe to say they've clearly established themselves number 3 in the country behind Baylor and Gonzaga. And hell, you could even make the argument they're closing the gap on both Gonzaga and Baylor. So this Michigan team is loaded for bear right now. You could be a little bit mildly concerned about the letdown spot. But I don't know. To me, this is an Indiana team that's just too erratic for me that I can't trust them to take advantage. I'd actually still prefer laying the points, believe it or not, here with Michigan on the road than trusting Indiana here. I would lean that way. I'd also lean a little to the over here in this game. I know it's tricky with Indiana. What can you get offensively? But Michigan totals have not been in the 130s very often. It's a product of them playing Indiana in this game. I think there's a little value to go over the number. What do you think, Connor, here, Michigan, Indiana?
Yeah, if Indiana was playing any better, Michigan's just been dominating. That was an unreal second half. They just whipped their ass. I'd only lay the points with Michigan too. There's tons of game. It wasn't my favorite look. I still think they can cover here, and it's come down a little bit. It's on the road, kind of a flat spot. These are games you try to stay away from after that big win. But teams like Michigan all year have stepped up and, won these games. Kind of like Baylor, Gonzaga. They keep winning and covering. So like you said, I'd only be on one side here, Michigan or pass.
Michigan or pass. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going. I mean, I don't trust this Indiana team enough. Next up, Illinois and Wisconsin. Wisconsin, 3.5 up to 5. Total 135.5 in this game. I don't know what, we know Ayo Dosunmu's not going to play here. It's sure looking that way. I think it's been confirmed. That's why the number's skyrocketing up on Wisconsin. I'm not joining this steam chasing here on Wisconsin. They have struggled against the best teams in this conference. Let's call it out for the way it's been for Wisconsin lately. Yeah. What have they done against the upper echelon of the Big Ten lately? Not a whole lot. Drilled by Iowa, lose to Michigan badly. There's another loss in there against a good Big Ten team. I'm blanking on it now, but there's another one they lost to. They just have not had a great deal of success here against the top teams. And look, Illinois, even without Dosunmu, and it's a huge loss. It's a guy that's the catalyst for the offense, takes the big shots at crunch time. You're going to miss that a lot more than, say, Nebraska, who you played in your last game if you're Illinois. But still, to see them play as well as they did against, I know it was Nebraska, but without Ayo, they just took apart Nebraska. I was very impressed. That's what good teams are supposed to do. Find ways to still be competitive and give yourself a chance to win. Other guys stepping up off the bench for Illinois in that game as well against Nebraska. Keep on betting this thing up. That's what I'm telling everybody out there. Keep on betting it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. And at some point, I'm going to take Illinois. I'm just going to wait, see what the best number I can get here. We saw them dig down with a good team effort without Ayo Dosunmu the other day. Why not again here? And I don't trust Wisconsin laying points against any kind of – I know they're without their top player, but still, they've had trouble beating the best of the best lately in this conference, and Illinois is certainly one of those teams. So I'm just going to wait and take whatever best number I can get with Illinois. Connor, what do you think here with the Illini and the Badgers?
Yeah, you were saying it. They lost at home to Ohio State by 12, and then, Michigan and Iowa lately. I haven't trusted them at all. And every time, all those games I watched, they didn't look good at all at home. This one's tough. Keeps creeping up. If I see a 6, I'll take Illinois. They're too deep, I think. Of course, you're going to miss with their best player, one of the top players in the country, in Dosunmu, but I'd only lean Illinois. I want nothing to do with this game. Wisconsin, to me, is just very bland. They're, 65-60 team. They're just looking more like that every time I watch them. I thought they might be a little better, a little different this year, but I don't see it really. I know they're at home, but this number's creeping a little too much. I'd only lean Illinois, and I just wait, like you said. And nothing on the total. These games mostly been unders for Wisconsin, so I'd only lean under.
Wisconsin was a pick 'em at home against Iowa. They're now -5 at home against Illinois, and Illinois is better than Iowa. So that tells you where the value is. I know part of the reason for that is Dosunmu's injury and his absence today, but still, there's clearly value in the number on Illinois, and I'm just going to wait it out and whatever the best I can get. Maybe it tops out at +5. Maybe it goes a little bit higher. We'll wait and see, but I'll have some kind of bet on Illinois before tip-off here. Next up, we've got LSU, Arkansas. Arkansas, 5.5-point home favorites, 162 the total. Big win for Arkansas. Eric Musselman's team is probably, I think now after beating Alabama head-to-head, you've got to say that they're the hottest team now in the SEC. I don't think there's much doubt about that. The Razorbacks are, and they haven't it really started when they got blown out by Alabama in the first meeting in Tuscaloosa. And really ever since then, this team has been a freight train, both straight up and ATS. We know it's a strong home court. I certainly lean to Arkansas. There's a little concern that after a huge victory against Alabama, they have a flat spot here. I don't know if there's a flat spot playing LSU. LSU's a team that I think will have Arkansas's attention. I would lean to the laying the points here with Arkansas. I think they're flat out better. It's a reasonable number on their home floor where they've been lights out this year. I like Arkansas a little bit. I like the total even more. This game can soar over 162. It's a high number. I understand that, but you're going to get extreme pace. You got two teams that are lighting up the scoreboard right now. LSU on the road has given up some unsightly point totals. Their defense has not traveled this season at all. I think we have a massive shootout in the works here. And both of these teams, believe it or not, have played even faster in recent games. So I think it gets over 162. I have become accustomed to not being afraid of overs in these high 150s, 160s. And this is one of those. I'm not afraid of it. I think we get high 160s or even 170s in this game in terms of points scored. What do you think, Connor, here, LSU, Arkansas?
I think we do too. I'm not huge on the side. I think Arkansas is playing really good. And I don't love LSU. I don't know. I just don't really like it that it's really steaming now up to 5.5. There's a little bit of the revenge. LSU did with, back in January 13th, which, that's a long time ago already, a little month and a half. They beat them 92-76. Maybe a little bit of revenge. But Arkansas is hot at home. They're playing really good. I'd only lean to laying the points with Arkansas and the over. I agree with you. I think it's just going to be a track meet. They got it. I think they're both in the 80s, or at least like a game 91, 80, or 78, something like that. So I look towards the over as well. It's high, but with teams like this, you can't be scared. That they're the top teams in the country and they score a lot.
No doubt. They do score a lot. Arkansas is definitely better defensively than LSU, but LSU can fill it up. And LSU's had been able to score against Arkansas in past meetings as well, pretty good. So this has actually been one of those opponents where Arkansas's defense has struggled a little bit. So that's exactly why I think we're going to see points in bunches here in this game. Next up, we've got Marquette and UConn. UConn 6.5-point home favorites, 134 the total in this one. I think all things considered, this is a reasonable price to lay with the Huskies here. In this game. Is anyone buying Marquette just because they shocked North Carolina, who was flat as a pancake the other night? Roy Williams said it. We just had nothing going. It's like we didn't give, two shits about that basketball game. He didn't say it that way, but it's what he felt. And it's what was clearly, you could tell on the court. And I'm disappointed I laid the points with North Carolina because I should have seen that coming, that here's this weird, bizarre, out-of-conference game against a struggling Marquette team. They have a huge game. We'll get to it in a little bit with Florida State today. And that's more important for North Carolina than Marquette, and they played like it. And they paid the price for it because they played so horribly they lost to Marquette in that game. But that's exactly why I don't say, wow, look at Marquette here. They're turning it around now with that win. Look out now. Marquette's going to get it going. No, I'm pumping the brakes on that opinion. That was more what North Carolina didn't do the other day than what Marquette did do. And UConn's a team that I think this is one of those teams that you can ride a little bit. They're healthy again. They're playing good defense. This is a team that might be ready to play their best basketball right now. I've been impressed with them. They pulled away from Georgetown to win by double digits in their last game. And you could argue that Marquette's not even as good as Georgetown. They've had a dismal season by their standards. Steve Wojciechowski has obviously seen his team decline this year. I don't know, 6.5 to me. I had this number, and I'm seeing a couple other people I respect that have their own numbers and power ratings that had this closer to 9. With UConn as a home favorite here. So 6.5, sign me up. I'm going to lay it here with the Huskies. Connor, what do you think here? Marquette, UConn.
Yeah, I don't think we see the same Marquette team. I mean, they were hot. I watched that first half just like this. I just couldn't believe they were just making everything. North Carolina couldn't make anything, and just turnovers. Wow, it was bad. That first half was unreal. I'm with you. I've been on UConn a lot this year, and you already mentioned it. They're getting healthy, and I think 6.5 is a little bit of a bargain. I'm a little weary. I either see this game, I think UConn wins, or I see this could be tight a little bit, just like a real Marquette could win this game. But I'm more on the other. I like UConn. I love their defense all year. They've been really good against the spread. I think they're 12-4, 12-5. So I'm going to lay it with UConn. I'm going to lay the 6.5 here.
All right, we've got the Battle of Bedlam, and yes, it's the basketball edition, not the football edition, but it's become, a big game here. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. We've got the Sooners 5-point home favorites, 139.5 the total. Look, in terms of current form, it's pretty tempting to take Oklahoma State right now, +5. I mean, they're playing some really good basketball. So is Oklahoma, but obviously Oklahoma had a massive speed bump the other day, losing to Kansas State, a shocking defeat for the Sooners in that game. At the same point in time, I know that's still a very good team. Lon Kruger's an excellent coach, a prideful bunch. You'd think they're going to really bounce back, and that's going to be the one thing that holds me off Oklahoma State here. But I think from a value standpoint and current form-wise, I think you got to lean Cowboys. This team's played some really good basketball, a lot of it at home. They've not consistently been as good on the road. That's another concern, but still, their form right now, hard to pass up +5. I'm going to lean in that direction. Probably going to stay off because of Oklahoma. Like, I want to see if Oklahoma, was that just a one-off, or is that really a sign that things are going to start to go in the other? I can't believe that, because Oklahoma's played too well for too long for me to think that Kansas State loss, for as bad as it was, is just going to upend this team's season. I can't see that. Not with Kruger, not with Reeves, not with Manick, not with Graham, not with the talent they have on tap here with this Oklahoma team. So I think the values with the Cowboys here lean that way, but just a lean as of right now. Connor, what do you think here? Battle of Bedlam.
Yeah, I think this one will be tight. I think both these teams will want it. The first one got postponed, so this is tough because Oklahoma's really good at home, and I like taking Oklahoma State at home. They're not as both teams aren't good on the road, but I think the value's still with the 5 here. Oklahoma's played some really close games. They've won lately, 7 at Iowa State. They beat West Virginia by 1. I don't know, kind of cruise control, lost to K-State. I think this one's close because it's such a rivalry. I'd rather take the points here. I haven't done it yet, but I take the points, and I lean a little bit towards the over. Oklahoma State's been an over team. Oklahoma's been actually an under team, surprisingly. Normally they're an over team. They've been an under team at home. So I just lean a little bit towards the over 139. I don't have a play on it. Just a lean.
Just a lean. All right, Florida State, North Carolina. I told you we'd get to that game. Florida State, 2-point road favorites, 153 the total. Looks like MJ Walker not going to play for Florida State today. That's definitely going to be a blow for them. I'm disappointed with this number because I think I was ready to bet Florida State in this game. I just think they're a little bit better right now than North Carolina, but they're favored. And I was hoping they'd be pick 'em or a slight dog, and they're not. Now they're favored on the road, and Walker's not going to play. And so, no, I'm off the Knowles now. I lean that way. But North Carolina, you would think, will snap to attention quickly following the debacle against Marquette the other night. Now they're back in conference play. Big game against the Florida State team. It's one of the better teams in the ACC. So I don't want to discount North Carolina. And again, they're not a home underdog very often. So again, I think matchup wise, it's good for Florida State. Length can really bother North Carolina, and it has at times when they've played them in the past. But I would lean. The lean is just the lean now because I was hoping for pick 'em or a slight dog price on Florida State, not them laying points here on the road. Couldn't necessarily disagree with the total move. You're going to get two teams that go up and down the floor. Florida State's just been piling up the points, and their games have started to fly over the total lately. So I understand why the total's been bet up a bit here. What do you think, Connor? FSU, UNC?
Yeah, the total's really getting up there. I mean, I still think it could maybe reach this total. I don't know if I'm going to bet it. I mean, 153 is a lot. But both these teams aren't great defensively. It's just, will it get there? Because I think it'll be in the 70s. Will it get maybe in the 80s, a team in the 80s to get over here? I can't do it either with Florida State. If this was a pick 'em or they were maybe catching a point or two, I don't like them laying points. Not on the road. They're not a great road team. Florida State hasn't been a good road team all year. I don't want to lay points here, and North Carolina's going to be pissed off. I'd watch this. They could be a sneaky team here today, and it's already dropped to 2.5. Yeah, if you could have got North Carolina at 3, or even money line. They could win this outright. I had to watch out with Florida State today. With Walker out, this could be a toss up. That was such a bad game. North Carolina's got to want to play better on their home court. I mean, it was just so ugly, the last one. So nothing here for me. I'd lean North Carolina if I had to play it.
So ugly, not only because they played poorly, but how poorly their opponent going into that game was playing. That being Marquette. That's what really made it even a double whammy in terms of just how bad that was for North Carolina earlier this week. Next game up on the slide. Again, all we can do on a Saturday, there's just so many games, is go through the marquee ones. We'll hit the added board, some other games that we've bet at the end of the show. It's just impossible on a Saturday to get to every game. Florida and Kentucky. We've got Kentucky 2-point home favorites here at Rupp Arena. Total's been bet up 142. And I know we've talked about this with Kentucky on previous shows. They've started to hit some overs, haven't they? I mean, my goodness, this Kentucky team, it's just it's a combination of things. One is they are shooting the ball a little bit better as a team, in their last few games. There's no question. This is about as fluid as I've seen Calipari's team offensively all season, what we've seen from them in the last few games. Now after a lot of games where they were getting held to the 60s, now all of a sudden they're scoring 70, 82, 82, 80 in their last 4 games. So they've cashed a bunch of overs, 5-1 to the over in their last 6 games. Florida, on the other hand, they're 7-2 to the over on the road. Prior to the Auburn and Arkansas games that stayed under, they had been an over machine this year. In fact, 7 straight overs. The last 2 have gone under, but you're talking about totals in the 150s. One was against Arkansas in one of Arkansas's, best defensive games of the season. And the other was Auburn, which stayed under. And we talked about it earlier, how Auburn's offense looked completely non-existent without Sharif Cooper in that game earlier this week. So put an asterisk beside those 2 unders. They're still 7-2 in their last 9 road games, Florida to the over. We know Kentucky has trended over in recent games. In fact, 4 straight home games here at Rupp Arena have gone over the total with 151, 153, 160, 162 in total points. So this total has gone up, and I agree. I think at 142, you can still get there with the over in this game. I would lean Florida. I'm not still laying points with this Kentucky team. I refuse to do it. Florida has been a pretty decent road team most of the season as well. Beat Georgia, West Virginia, Auburn on the road. So I lean Florida. My favorite play, though, is the over in this game. Conor, how about you? Gators, Wildcats.
I lean Florida as well. I was on them the other day. Of course, I didn't know Sharif Cooper would be out and it'd be that easy game to win. But I lean towards the over as well. These teams, though, over the last few years have played towards unders, but I've been on that Kentucky over train the last few games. So I'd only lean over here as well and taking the 2 points. Sorry, I got a little buzz in the ear. Can you hear that?
That's all right. No, I hear you good. You're good. I know.
Okay.
That's all right. We have technical malfunctions are par for the course sometimes when you're doing these shows online. I know too well.
I didn't know if you could hear it. I could hear it.
No, I got you good. Boise and San Diego State. San Diego State 6-point home favorites, 136 the total. Boise, if you had Boise in that game, you deserved a better fate. I mean, they battled back in the second half, forced overtime, and then, of course, underdog in overtime often doesn't end well. And it didn't end well if you had Boise the other night. So, and I was lucky. I laid the 6 with San Diego State. I'm not going to complain. I'll take the money and run. Like that Steve Miller Band song, go on, take the money and run. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And I'm not going back to the well with San Diego State, but I still think they're better than Boise. And I still think Boise feasted on weaker teams. And I think when push comes to shove, San Diego State's just, to me, a little bit better, especially on the defensive end than Boise State, and it showed in that overtime. So I'm not laying the 6 with San Diego State. I understand if you want to go back to the well with Boise, you'd think they really bring it here after a tough overtime loss in the last meeting with these teams. But for me, I still think San Diego State, the superior of these squads. What do you think here, Conor? Boise, San Diego State.
I'm going to pass. I think the game could get over again, but it took overtime. They were about to get over. They needed overtime. I'd lean that way. And I'd lean the points with Boise, just seeing these back-to-back games. The second time around, if they're close in competition, usually the team, I don't know if they win, but they cover. And you're right, those games, those OT, where they go on 12-2 run and they can't cover like a spread like that, and it's just like, wow, go to OT and you just lose 12-2 or 12-3 or something like that. I didn't bet it, but yeah, nothing on the total because it went over, but I'd lean to Boise taking the 6 here.
All right, next game on the slate, Creighton Xavier. Creighton 4.5-point road favorites, 145.5 the total. This number's cheap enough. I'm looking at Creighton here. Xavier's not in good form right now. We saw what happened against Providence. They got blown out. I know Creighton on the road, not great from a point spread perspective, but I think that hiatus, some teams have been able to get right back on the horse after a hiatus, after a shutdown, and start playing well again. This hiatus has completely thrown Xavier right out of their rhythm, right out of the loop. I mean, they have not been good since they returned to action recently. I think it's partly that. I think it's also partly they're not as good as they were earlier in the season. I was still stunned that Xavier was playing as well as they were before the hiatus, before their season got paused. Now they're starting to resemble that team that I thought would struggle. And finally, their defense is coming unglued. Their defense had to regress. They had some very, very lucky, fortunate statistics on the defensive end, and now that regression has hit them hard. They have struggled to defend in recent games. That's trouble against a sharpshooting Creighton team in this one. I think the number's low enough to get there with Creighton -4.5. Total's dropping. I know Creighton has played pretty good defensively as of late, but I might get on the over if this number drops. I thought it should have been 148.5, 149, which is where it opened. It's down to 145.5 in some spots. I might look to that over now with the total going down in that game. What do you think here, Creighton Xavier?
Yeah, the total I'm going to stay off. I like the initial drop, but now that it's getting down to 145, I think it's too much. I'm going to stay off the total. Creighton doesn't score as much on the road. Xavier has not been scoring much lately. I think this is a little cheap too. I'm going to lay the 4.5 with Creighton. I might regret it, but I think they're the better team. Xavier's played; they just haven't looked good. I watched their last few games. They're not the same team before that COVID pause. So I think it's short enough. Hopefully, Creighton, it's the same energy they do. They play at home. I think they could get the cover here. So I'm going to lay the 4.5 with Creighton as well.
All right, big one in the ACC. Next up, Louisville and Duke at Cameron Indoor. Saturday nights at Cameron Indoor. I think this is like the third straight Saturday. Duke's had a big home game at Cameron Indoor. They had North Carolina 2 weeks ago. They had Virginia last week, and now they've got Louisville tonight. Yeah, I know. Let's put Duke on Saturday night, like probably for ESPN, right, for television. Come on. Duke 5.5-point home favorites, 141 the total in this game. I said it with Duke prior to the Syracuse game. At home, this team is just a machine all of a sudden. And for the entire season, I cashed with the Syracuse Duke over in their last home game. But, their home over-under record, I think now is 8-3, I believe. After that over with Syracuse the other day. We know this team has finally gotten their offense going. They are just in great form offensively. Look what they've done during this win streak where they've had this resurgence, this 4-0 straight up in ATS streak, 84 against Wake. 66 against Virginia is actually pretty damn good, considering what Virginia can do defensively in that game. And then 85 against Syracuse. They're shooting well. They've got their confidence and mojo back offensively. They've trended over at home. Louisville, on the other hand, Jekyll and Hyde team. I mean, I cashed with Louisville -4. That was the best bet for me against Notre Dame in their last game, 69-50, but it was a good spot. They were off the embarrassing loss to North Carolina. But on the road, that blowout loss to UNC, losing to Clemson, losing to Miami. They have not had a lot of good road results here in ACC play against better competition. That's the concern here. And I can't believe I've gone from looking to fade Duke at every opportunity about a month or two ago to now saying I can't bet against Duke. And that's kind of the way I feel right now. I mean, and they need every game badly. So you have to expect game 7 of a playoff series mentality from Duke. They can't rest on their laurels. They still haven't done enough yet to get in the tournament. They need as many signature wins as possible. This would be another one. Louisville's a ranked team. Louisville's a team that would be another quality opponent here for this Duke team, another quality win. So I'd expect Duke to bring it. And again, Louisville's been too shaky on the road to trust them. So lean here to Duke -5. But definitely on this over, 141, riding the Duke overs at home. Conor, what do you think here, Louisville Duke?
Yeah, on the total, I kind of agree with you. Louisville's a little bit better defensively. They kind of been an under team. So it's not my favorite over, but Duke's been just over, especially at home. And I think we can get over 142. Yeah, I don't like anything about this one. I'd probably lay it with Duke here. I don't know what team. I think I'm getting the team that's playing now, but I just remember the team all year that was horrible, even at home. So I'm passing this game all the way around. You're right. Duke needs it. So I don't blame anyone to lay the 5.5. And I think the number's right there in a good spot. Louisville, they just haven't showed it. Chris Mack's not in these bigger games. He hasn't coached very, he doesn't come up big. So I want nothing to do with Louisville in this game. So it's a pass.
All right, next game, we'll talk about Alabama, Mississippi State. We got Alabama 6-point road favorites, 144.5 the total in this game. Mississippi, I definitely think Alabama's worth a look. I don't know how it's a smaller bet for me because the number is pretty fair here, -5.5, -6 with Alabama on the road. I think where the value really is here is over the total in this game because finally we have seen, and look, Alabama on the road has not always been great scoring. Their offense has kind of not been the same on the road, and we saw that against Arkansas. But again, Arkansas, Oklahoma, some of these teams they've lost to on the road, they're pretty good defensive teams, especially against better teams. That's not Mississippi State. I can't count on Mississippi State's defense game in and game out. And because of, Alabama staying under a little bit lately and their offense kind of shaky on the road at times, I'm looking at this as a situation here where this is a very good discount on an Alabama total. Like, look at the number, 143.5. Although now it's been bet up to 144.5. So people are seeing what I'm seeing. This is a discount on Alabama. There's been a team that's been lined from a total standpoint all year in the 150s, or at the very least in the high 140s. So I'm going to take advantage of that over the total here. And I also like Alabama laying the points a little bit, bounce back after the loss to Arkansas. Connor, what's your take here?
Yeah, I'd lean towards the over. It's really gotten kind of steamed up, but you're right. Compared to just a month ago, Bama would be this game would probably have been 148 or 150 to come and start out with. So there's a little value there. I lean Bama. They need it. They have not played well on the road lately. I mean, of course, it's usually against tougher teams. They need this one badly. Bounce back. I want to get that Alabama team that was playing a month ago because I don't like these teams that played well and they're kind of slipping towards the tournament because they were playing so well. A big one here would be good. I lean them. I just can't lay 5.5 with them on the road, so I'm going to pass here.
All right, next up, USC, Utah. We've got Utah taking money. USC opened 6-point road favorites in Salt Lake, down to 4.5 now in this game. I kind of agree. Utah's been pretty competitive and feisty lately, and at home getting that many points, and USC's off the loss to Colorado. I understand that. They didn't play well, one of their worst games. 80-62 they lost. Terrible game from their standpoint. They're banged up. The Mobley brothers are banged up right now. They're in and out. They're always questionable now every game. They've been a little bit, tougher to cover numbers for this USC team lately. There's a lot of steam on Utah, and I could see why. 4.5, you can say now maybe you pump the brakes, but these 2 road games in 3 nights situations, Colorado to Utah or vice versa in high altitude, those are difficult road trips. It's unbelievable how many times the better teams you would think on paper have lost both ends of this 2-game road trip. It's a tougher road trip as anybody will do in college basketball. You're in altitude, you're playing 2 games in 3 days. It's a tricky spot for USC, and it's sure not one I trust them laying points on the road against this hard-trying Utah team. What do you think here, Connor?
Real quick, Jake, I'll answer it. I like Vandy. I'm on them +8. I'm laying off Southern Illinois. It's a lot of points. I took them +19.5 last night. They covered. Yeah, I mean, it's a ton of points, Loyola, but it's up to you. And Nasty Nate, my best new bet. I like Georgia Tech. It just went to 5. I like them -4.5. And I also like the over in Texas Tech game. So the 136. Here, this is tough with Utah. They just haven't been good. They are better at home. Normally, this is where I want to play them. I got to pass this one. SC's got the more talent. but you're laying 4.5, and now I see all this team on Utah. They don't have all their players healthy, all there. It'd be Utah or pass if I had a free play here, but I am definitely not playing this one. Pass.
Yeah. All right, let me we go on down the card here. Let's see what we've got next up. Oh, of course, Baylor, Kansas, a Big 12 showdown here. We've got Baylor, 3.5-point road favorites at the Fog, 142 the total. Can you believe Baylor's an over team right now? How crazy is that? We talk about how this team has just been an offensive or defensive juggernaut all season, one of the best teams in college basketball. By the way, to answer Nate's question, I have no best bet at noon. I don't like the noon games. I guess Texas +4 would be as close as it gets for me, but I don't love anything at noon. So best bet will be later in the day. Yeah, for me in this game, I would look Kansas a little bit. Baylor, look, I understand it was their first game after a shutdown and a layoff. But you barely beat Iowa State, who have been blown off the floor repeatedly, and you barely squeak by them at home. That doesn't give me a lot of confidence to lay points with you on the road. And you talked about teams that peaked early. Are we going to see this again with Scott Drew here? If we get right close to March, and here's Baylor starting to show some cracks and chinks in the armor. Maybe, but Kansas didn't have a very good game at all against Baylor in Waco earlier this year. I think they remember that. They've been good at home lately. Getting 3.5. I'm looking at the Jayhawks, rock chalk here in this game. And crazy as it is to say, Baylor right now looks like a little bit of an over team. So I would probably lean over 142 as well. Great game, though, to wrap up. It's one of the later games, 8 p.m. Eastern, ESPN. Should be a good one. Conor, what do you think here? The big showdown in the Big 12, Baylor, Kansas.
Yeah, I think this could get over as well. Baylor, like you said, is an over team, and Kansas to me has been an over team. I know lately some of these lower teams they've played, they've gone under, but I think there's a lean towards over in this one as well. I don't like that it's down to 3.5. So when it opened at 5, I like Kansas a bit. I think Baylor's going to be a little pissed off. The final score was closer. Kansas covered that first one I had them +9. I think they lost by 8. They were losing by 14. They got a great backdoor cover in that game, that first one. So I have nothing on this one. I think the line's about right. I'm going to pass. I think I'm just going to watch this one. I don't see much value either side. Just the over a little bit.
All right, that is going to wrap up the main board breakdown. We got through pretty much every marquee match. Oh, one more, actually. Sorry, I missed one. UCLA is in action tonight, taking on Colorado. I've got to talk about that one. Colorado, 6.5-point home favorites, 136 the total. Yeah, I just don't bet against Colorado at home. I just don't. Like, I'm not saying they can't lose at home. They have. They actually were beaten a couple times at home, but for the most part, they've been very good at home. They'll be revved up for UCLA. They really just pounded USC, and to me USC is a little bit better than UCLA right now. UCLA's been up and down, erratic, and going on the road here against Colorado. I would lean Colorado. I don't know if I'll lay the 6.5, but I would definitely lean to the Buffs there. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, I lean towards the Buffs. I had them against SC. They blow them out. I think it's similar here. So I haven't bet yet, but I like it. I already see 7, so if you like Colorado, get on them. I think they can cover it. UCLA is not good on the road. You want them at home at Pauley Pavilion, and they've dealt with their own injuries going on. So Colorado, home team. Not so great on the road, but they're really, really good. I'd lay it with Colorado.
Yeah, 6.5, and actually some 7 starting to pop up. So it looks like there's some sentiment on Colorado here. All right, added board and conference tournaments in the mid-majors. We'll end with that, then we'll go to best bets. Added board first, not too much. I'm on Navy against Loyola Maryland. Someone asked about that in the chat. Yes, I am on Navy there. I think it's a pick 'em price for, I think Navy's in better form, better team. I'm on that. I'm on Boston Army over, and I'm on Houston Baptist McNeese State over 154.5. Pretty low number for a Houston Baptist game. So we'll try to take advantage of that. Conference tournaments, America East and Big South have their first round of their conference tournaments starting today. And I like a bunch of these games. These are some of my better bets of the day are actually from these conference tournaments. I love conference tournaments. It's always been a good, profitable type of endeavor for me. I'm on UMass Lowell, pick them against Stony Brook. Stony Brook's got injuries. They've had a down season. I think Lowell played better down the stretch. I think they win that game and advance past Stony Brook. I'm on NJI. Talk about a banged up team. Albany, the Great Danes. Some of those Danes have been put out to pasture here. They are a really injury riddled team. NJIT, the Institute of Technology, plus 4.5. I think they could win that game outright. And the plus 4.5's a bonus. Hampton, I like them to beat Presbyterian. Even though the Blue Hose have been feisty, I think Hampton is one of those teams. Once conference tournaments roll around in the Big South, they always seem to make a run. I think they start today with a win against Presbyterian. I like the over in that game, a little low at 138. And I'm on High Point, laying the points against Upstate. Upstate is a dreadful team. High Point should be able to take care of business here against them. This number looks a little bit short on them, so I like High Point as well. So that's my added board and conference tournament bets right there. Conor, for you, added board or those conference tournaments in the Big South, America East, anything stand out to you?
Yeah, I like Navy as well. I'm going to take the points with Boston University, the +4. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take my Blue Hose. I'm going to take the 2.5. I think it's going to be a good game. You're right. Hampton does come up to play.
You have liked them a lot. No doubt. A few times.
I've been well with them, and I faded them too. I've kind of been good on them all year. They usually win and they'll lose, and that's what they did with Hampton earlier. They beat them. Hampton beat them by 5. Kind of similar. I think the points could come into play, and I'm going to take Florida Gulf Coast over. They got drilled at Kennesaw State, which I was a little surprised. They're taking a lot of money though. It's -3 now, but I think they beat them today pretty easily. So Florida Gulf Coast -3.
All right, good stuff. There we go. It's time for best bets. Before we do that, though, Conor, what do we got from the sponsors on this Saturday?
Oh, yeah. Go to manscaped.com. Get 20% off your order. Get the Lawnmower 3.0. Get everything shaved up. Get the ball deodorant, all the oils. Go to manscaped.com. 20% off your order. And, of course, you need multiple books. Go to mybookie.ag at promo code PUBSPORTS. 50% off your debit or credit. 100% off Bitcoin. Use the Bitcoin. Put 1,000, you get 1,000, or minimum of 100. Mybookie.ag at promo code PUBSPORTS. And also go to booksupplements.com. Hit promo code PUBSPORTS. You get 5 to 10% off your order. Get all those vitamins, creatine, protein, amino acids, all that stuff for your workout. That's it.
There we go. All right, best bet time. Sweep on Thursday. We got out the broom with the 2-0. We went big sky hunting on Thursday night, Conor and I, with the best bets, and it paid off. Weber State for CMAC and Montana for me. They both got it done. So see what we can do for an encore. Conor, what do you got for best bet today?
Well, I gave those out. I like those early ones, but let's go. I'm going to do a bigger game, and they got me last week. It was my best bet. I'm going to lay the 6.5 with UConn. I think they bury Marquette. I'm laying the 6.5. UConn big today.
All right, there we go. UConn
-6.5.
Yes, UConn -6.5 against Marquette. Best bet there for Conor Mack. Mine is going to be let's go to NJIT plus 4.5 against Albany for my best bet in America East Conference tournament action. This is a banged up Albany team, and if they win and they cover and take my money in the process, so be it. But I think NJIT is, I think when healthy, Albany's a slightly better team, but that's the problem. They're not healthy going into this game. And, again, these home courts are often overvalued in these conference tournaments. Pressure's up. It's winner to go home. That kind of environment now with the conference tournaments. And NJIT's been a decent road underdog this year in conference play. Let's take the 4.5 plus 4.5 with NJIT against Albany in America East Conference Tournament first round action. That is my best bet for this Saturday closing time show. That'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for tuning in the chat. We appreciate it. Conor and I will be back on Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, with the next edition of the Closing Time College Basketball Show. But we'll be also back on Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, with the NBA Closing Time Show. Conor, me, and Ski will be along for that. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday, everybody. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you again Monday for once again for a Closing Time NBA edition right here on Pub Sports Radio.
Peace, guys. Thanks.